Niger Delta Republic.
That was the time to have resolved this matter. We have found out.
You know, he was a student union leader.
Yes, Sukada was told. He told me that.
Even before the war, he had launched the 12-day revolution.
They told me. He too told me. He told me because I asked him why was he fighting the federal government. He was fighting the federal government because of the oil.
So he was a revolutionary in that war?
Yes. The answer is yes.
He believed in the cause of Nigeria?
Yeah, well, he believed in the cause of the rivers if Nigeria will accept his conditions. The rivers people, if Nigeria will accept his condition. What were his conditions? We will share the oil, we will have majority, you can't have majority. He wanted the oil to be shared among the states in the country, the regions, but now we gave it to individuals. We were silly. We are silly.
So he had that in mind while fighting for Nigeria?
That's exactly why he fought. What were his conditions? We will share the oil, we will have...
Voices. The first voice is that of Dr. Yemi Farumbi, talking about Isaac Boro and oil. Then the second voice is that of General Alabi Sama, talking about Isaac Boro and oil. I just read from the book written by Tulufari from the Niger Delta. He was part of the Orkar Coup. He talked about oil. The same thing that Isaac Boro fought for before he died. Tulufari fought for it too in the Orkar Coup. Remember the Adaka Boro story? On February 23rd, 1966, Isaac Boro, an Ijaw man, declared the Niger Delta state as an independent republic. Federal troops are mobilizing to crush the rebellion. And they did. The nation watched. He launched a 12-day revolution to demand for clarity, to demand for a state for the Niger Delta people. He launched that coup, did not succeed. But after the coup, the uprising in Ogoniland took a new turn. As we still speak, militancy in the Niger Delta still exists. But in this case, it's like the federal government have said, you chop your own, let me also chop. So no fight. So the militants are rich, but the community is poor. So you have now come up with new militant elites who are now part of the leading class, sharing the largesse with the political class. So their guns are resting. But as I speak, because of the rise in poverty in the Niger Delta, more guns will come as I explain the laws of motion. Are you in this class of politics and power? The class of history. It is Splash 105.5 FM, the Integrity Station. Now let's bring in Babafemi Ojudu. Babafemi Ojudu is the author of the book Adventures of a Guerrilla Journalist. Adventures of a Guerrilla Journalist. If you read this book, Babafemi Ojudu gave the stories of his adventures as a journalist before he became a senator of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, before he became a special advisor on political matters to Buhari. So one of the stories he told in this book, it is one of the best books to be written in recent time. It's a book I have always recommended, and I continue to recommend to anyone who wants to understand what journalists go through to tell their stories. So one of the stories told in this book is the Orkar Coup, Adventures of a Guerrilla Journalist. You'll find this on udarabooks.com. Babafemi Ojudu on State Affairs.
The Gideon Orkar Coup.
The Gideon Orkar Coup, yeah. We just woke up Sunday morning, we learned that there has been a coup. Some states has been excised from Nigeria. And, when such big event happened, what you do as journalists is to quickly converge in the office and then decide on what angle. Particularly if you are working for a weekly, what angle will you look at this? And I got to the place and I suggested, gentlemen, the best that can happen is for us to know who this man Orkar was. And so we picked the information that his wife, is from Elisha and that he served in Ibadan. So okay, yeah. Bayo just bought a car then, second-hand Datsun car. We got in the car and drove to Ibadan. Got to the cantonment in Ibadan here, the military place. And somebody told us, no, Orkar didn't serve here. Orkar actually served in, he's actually served in Shaki. Oh yeah, let's go to Shaki. We got to Shaki late in the night. And we proceeded immediately to the Mamim market. There is this adjoining place to the barrack where soldiers go to drink, carry prostitutes and smoke and all kinds of things. So you are, if you are familiar with Mamim market, you can pick a lot of information from there. I've picked information about coups and executions from Mamim market. So we got there, the place was deserted because Orkar had just been arrested, and this was his base. So we from Mamim market. So we got there, the place was deserted because Orkar had just been arrested, and this was his base. So are we going to live without again? Again, we look for where to sleep. Again, in Shaki at that time, just a bungalow with some rooms. So we got accommodation, we slept. So all night I was thinking there must be a solution to this problem. So we woke up, we met in Bayo's room and said, look, this graph. Okay, where is the major photographer in this town? So he now pointed to the place to us, and then he followed us there. I met the Photoshop. We were here the other day to take photograph. We have not been able to collect the photograph. Where is Oga? I said, my Oga traveled. Okay. Can you please let us even look at it to see if the photograph was good or not good? He now brought out photographs. So no, it's not in these photographs. We couldn't find the photograph. He now brought out negatives. When he brought out that negative, I looked at it. I could see the military beret. I said, Coke, this girl, we are thirsty. Take money, go and buy Coke for me. So I gave her the money. She left to buy Coke. So I started pocketing the negatives. I took as many as I could, and he came back. Oh, this Coke is hot. Whatever. Oh no, we're looking for cold ones. The woman next door who said Coke, the place is far. We have to take another money. Go and get cold Coke. By the time she left and come back, I've taken as many negatives as I could. And then the guy who was his colleague, I then started holding them to the light for him to, yes, that's okay. I left and come back, I've taken as many negatives as I could. And then the guy who was his colleague, I then, yes, that's okay. They do for soldiers on Memorial Day or something. Leave it. I couldn't wait to get to Lagos at that moment. So we thanked the guy, he departed. The guy came back, I gave him additional money for herself. She was excited. Off to Lagos we got.
State Affairs with Edmond Nobilo is live.
That is Babafemi Ojudu, the journalist. He wrote about the Orkar Coup in chapter 2 of the book, and that chapter is entitled Major Orkar and Our Daring Do Practice. Simple story, told in a lucid manner. He said, that morning, Nigerians awoke to the now familiar tune of martial music. This coup d'etat, however, was unlike any before. Ojudu continues in his book. On Radio Nigeria's national network, the plotters announced the overthrow of General Ibrahim Babangida's regime and declared the dismembering of Nigeria, excising 5 states to form a new country. He says in the African Concord newsroom, he was working for the African Concord then. That was in 1990. He says in the African Concord newsroom, we brainstormed the best angle to report this earth-shaking story. The only useful details we could gather about Orkar were his Benue State origin and his last posting at the army base in Shaki. As an assistant editor, and with my friend and colleague, Bayo Ononuga, that is the same Bayo Ononuga, Tinubu's spokesman. Bayo Ononuga at the time was the editor of the African Concord, while Babafemi Ojudu was the assistant editor. So he said, along with Bayo Ononuga, we decided to send a reporter to Makurdi to dig up Orkar's background. Ononuga, reporter Sheye Kehinde and I embarked on a mission to Shaki to uncover more about Orkar and, if possible, obtain his photograph. So he has just told the story of how they obtained the photograph. You can read more of his stories in the book, Adventures of a Guerrilla Journalist. You'll find the book on udarabooks.com. Join the discourse. The lines are open as we talk the Gideon Orkar Coup, military revolution, and the laws of motion. Call the radio station on 070 694 930 0. Hello, good morning.
Morning.
Hello.
Hello, good morning.
Yes, good morning.
Good morning.
Hello.
This is one of the. Hello.
Okay. Hello, good morning. You can leave your messages. Let's go on X and see who is speaking on X.
Good morning. This is Comrade Joseph calling from Omiadio.
Good morning.
First of all, I want to say thank you so much for the program. It's really educating the young men who were not born at that time. You can see I have learned one thing from that journalist who was able to obtain photographs of Orkar. So thank you so much. And regarding the way of motion that you just stated, I want to derive it and speak something in another way. Our government today will continue doing it and speak something in another way. Our government today will continue doing wrong things unless we citizens of Nigerian decide to act based on the law of motion you just stated. So thank you. We must take action to take corrections.
Thank you. Thank you for calling the radio station. Oladele Idowu Joseph is on X. He says, good morning, radio man. It's amazing being in the class of history, of politics and power this morning. Thank you so much for digging Gideon Orkar Coup out once again. The history have it that Raji Rasaki, the then Lagos military governor, played a crucial role in crushing the coup. Abeza Chasobina says, good morning, radio man. War is a reflection of the internal struggles of the individual citizens with injustice. Let justice thrive so that peace may reign. Well done, radio man. So I've seen Abeza Chasobina, Oladele Idowu Joseph. J. Fard says most analysis focus on the coup's failure or its ethnic undertones. Orkar was a minority from the Tiv ethnic group and called for the expulsion of certain northern states from Nigeria, while soldiers at home faced poor pay, decaying barracks, and inadequate equipment. This resentment was compounded by Babangida's austerity measures under IMF, World Bank structural adjustment programs, which squeezed military budgets. JFAT says the untold angle, Orkar and his co-conspirators were reportedly frustrated that Nigeria was bankrolling liberation struggles like the ANC in South Africa and SWAPO in Namibia. You see, one book that will also tutor you well on this subject is Soldiers of Fortune. Now, there's a new print of this book. Soldiers of Fortune. Nigerian politics from Buhari to Babangida, 1983 to 1993. It's a book you should have. If there's one book you should have in your house, it is this book, Soldiers of Fortune. You know, I keep mentioning it. Nigerian politics from Buhari to Babangida. You cannot tell me you are interested in political power, yet you don't like history. One of the bane of Nigerian development is that most of those who govern us don't understand history. They don't read. They don't even know. I've experimented this. I have engaged in deep discourse with some top members of the political leadership. They lack knowledge of Nigeria's history. You'll be shocked. You'll be shocked that they don't know. So sometimes I ask them, so did you prepare for leadership? It is clear there is no preparation. That is why sometimes you look at the Chinese system. They don't just throw you up. They prepare you for leadership. We must have a system that prepares people for leadership. Our education system is so weak, it doesn't prepare the mind for good leadership. So what you see, people stumble into leadership and they don't know what to do with it. And that is the chaos we see in Nigeria. People who are looting money they don't need because they don't understand the essence of leadership. That if you create enabling leadership, everybody will be richer than we are now. Even those who are looting will be richer. Because you now create a system that is productive. And that is a system we must create. Those who plotted the Orkar Coup wanted such a system. But I will also raise some questions. If they had succeeded, what next? What next? So read this book, Soldiers of Fortune, by Max Schulen. Max told the story in chapter 9. It is entitled The Niger Delta Coup. That's what he entitled it. The Niger Delta Coup. You know what these guys did? They went to recruit former servicemen. They didn't use, there was no GOC. In fact, they were tough. I don't know how they did it. Tulufari has explained what happened, how they did it. And Great Ogboru cannot be taken out. He he was a fishing magnate. He was a millionaire. He had a fishing company in Lagos, a big compound. That was where they gathered. Some of them gathered. They bought arms. They didn't want the military to know. So they were not targeting the military armory really. They bought their own arms. And they went to recruit former servicemen. They gave them training. They took their time. And they almost got Babangida, just that they wanted to catch him alive. If they had wanted to kill him, they would have killed him. According to the guys who were closer to them, they wanted to catch him. They could have blown him up because they killed his ADC. And once you take down the ADC, that means you are close to your target. It was a coup that shook the military. Abacha rose to the task to defend the government of the day. If you read Max Schulen's book, he has subtitle. He explains Dodan barracks attack led by Lieutenant Echendu. It was Echendu that led the attack on Dodan Barrack, where Babangida was staying. Ikeja Cantonment, who led that attack, it was led by Major Mukoro, Captains Dakolo and Emperor, and Lieutenant Ahere and Obasi. Ojo Cantonment, it was Captain Tolufari that led the attack on Ojo Cantonment. So Tolufari is the author of the book Exploitation and Instability in Nigeria. You know, he told the story of how he escaped out of Nigeria. At some point, he was in Lagos for about a week. He was hiding in Lagos for about a week, Tolufari. You know, why the military was looking for him. You know, they rounded up about more than 300 soldiers. I think they executed about 60. Some figures will say 67, some will say 68. The military at some point announced that they executed 40. And the coups also killed many soldiers that day. The D-Day. Who captured Radio Nigeria Corporation of Nigeria? Lieutenant Emmanuel Oke Kumatalo captured Radio Nigeria. Remember, we have discussed the Dimka coup. Dimka was in Radio Nigeria too. They always want to capture and make the announcement. Dimka had already made his own announcement, but that also failed, like the Orkar Coup. Lieutenant Colonel Inyam was to take the Giwa project and provide reinforcement for the attacking forces at FRCN and Dodan Barracks. They also had 4 arrest squad led by Lieutenant H.A. Ogboru, Mohammed Gohe, Nicholas Ode, and Awokoya Akogun. There was Major Obahon. He was to rupture the communications of the 2nd Mechanized Infantry Division, headquartered at Ibadan, by disrupting their radio communication systems. Maxiolun also have a subheading here entitled Federal Radio Corporation of Nigeria, headquarters, what happened there that day. I recommend this book to you. It will educate you. There's also the aftermath. We'll look at the aftermath of the coup, if we can. I have brought the subject to your table. So why the coup took place? Something changed in the military. So let's bring back the author of the book, Destiny Anchored on Faith, the story of General Oladipo Diya. I'm talking about Dr. Oluronti Afuowe of Osun State University, Department of History and International Studies. So here, in this second interview, he looks at the role played by Oladipo Diya. Why was he punished? He tells the story.
They almost got Babangida.
Yes. Colonel Ukebelo died through that coup. So many officers were lost.
Babangida survived it.
He survived it.
At this time, General Oladipo Diya was the GOC, General Officer Commanding of the 82 Division, Enugu.
Yes, very correct. When that coup occurred, you know,
GOC, General Officer Commanding of the 82 Division, Enugu.
Yes, very correct. When that coup occurred, you know, organized since 1976 Dimka coup. They now organize the military in such a way that it becomes very difficult for junior officers to be able to effectively take control of Nigeria. So Nigeria now have military divisions, different divisions. Each of these divisions are big enough. You know, within the division you have brigades. Within brigades you have battalions. Then between battalions you have platoons and the rest of it. So each division is so organized, so big enough that it could take on the whole country if need be. because they have looked at the samples of what happened in the past 2 military coups. So immediately that coup occurred, General Diya was already mobilizing his troops from Enugu to storm Lagos. Of course, after the coup was fueled by the troops in Lagos, there was no need for him to come down to Lagos again. But he had been making an attempt to come and defend the Nigerian state, because that was the pledge that he made to defend the integrity of Nigerian state.
He was loyal to the IBB government.
Well, you may say IBB government because he represented Nigeria at that time. He was an officer of Nigerian state, and the sovereignty of Nigerian state was under threat. And he has a mandate to defend it, and that was what he was planning to do. Of course, if you look at his action thereafter, you also see that his loyalty was really not to Babangida, was to the Nigerian state. Because at the first AF Armed Forces Ruling Council meeting, after that coup, it was the officer that rose up and said, look, yes, we have defeated people, we can be patting ourselves at the back for a good job, but there are fundamental issues that were raised by these boys. These issues must not be swept under carpet. We need to address them so that these things like this should not happen again. Of course, for that statement, he lost his command that day. He was removed as GOC that day.
By virtue of being the GOC,
yes,
automatically he had a membership of the Armed Forces Ruling Council.
Yes.
So when he was removed as GOC, he lost that position in the council.
He lost everything within the ministry. In fact, he was appointed what they call Director of Research and Development, an office that never existed.
He lost his position because he spoke on behalf of the ideals
yes,
that the coup plotters stood for.
Yes.
And Babangida did not take that lightly
at all. Well, Babangida did not tell him that. What Babangida told him, according to what from interview I had with him, was that he's so intelligent and he needed someone to help him reorganize the military in a way that made the armed forces Nigeria more effective and effective operationally. And he was so happy that if that is the response we were going to give to him, he now moved to the office of Chief of Army Staff.
Before going to see Abacha, who was the Chief of Army Staff,
yes,
Diya had
gone to General Babangida.
When he noticed that the office where he was posted was outside military formation.
Yes.
It was somewhere in Ikoyi.
Yes.
The secretariat
Ikoyi.
Can you tell me about that office?
Well, it was an office meant to humiliate him. Because since he was a captain in the army during the Civil War and later became a major, he had always had the because he was a commander of battalions, he always have offices that were private toilet. This time around, when he was a major general, a former GOC, redeployed to Lagos from Enugu, when he asked for his office, they now show him an office next to toilet, a room next to toilet. No staff, no military staff, no administrative staff, nothing. That was why I was shocked that how could this happen to him? Where are the people that are supposed to?
By this time, he didn't know his offense.
He didn't know. He now went to Babangida that what could have happened? And Babangida told him, oh, you are so intelligent, you are good, and I want you to now use your intellect for military. It was when he now moved to General Abacha's office, Chief of Minister, that I just confronted him and said, yeah, you service 20. For that office, you go speak your 20 tire.
Turenchi was English. His position at the Armed Forces Ruling Council.
Yes.
The English he spoke there.
Yes.
That was the Turenchi Abacha was referring to.
That you are the ideal person. Yep. You are the only one who can speak. Others cannot speak. Of course, what the Nigeria told me was that at the end of the meeting, most of the officers came to meet him and congratulate him. That you spoke my mind, but none of them spoke. In fact, he said after he finished his address at the Armed Forces Council that day, that if you drop a pin, you will hear the voice. They all kept mute. And he never knew that he has said anything bad until he received signal that he has been removed as GOC. It was now General Abacha that told him that, look, you are going to stay, that's why you are going to retire in that office. And at that period, he didn't know what to do, but he now knew, think about it, to turn that to an advantage. He now solicited for study leave to go and study, so as to stop the humiliation, because it was meant to be humiliation. That was how and why he became endeared to General Abacha. They became friends.
State Affairs with Edmond the Below is live.
That's Dr. Oluranti Afuowe, the author of the book Destiny Anchored on Faith, the story of General Ladipo Diya. Good book, but scarce. The book is scarce now. It is out of print. It is out of print, and I hope the author will reprint at some point. So if you find a copy now of this book, you are among the lucky ones. But I can tell you, you can get some copies, archival copies, on udarabooks.com. It's a book you should read, written by Dr. Oluranti Afuowe of Osun State University, of the Department of History and International Studies. The book of the day is Exploitation and Instability in Nigeria, the Orkar Coup in Perspective, written by one of the plotters of the coup, Suwaribi Tulufari. Exploitation and Instability in Nigeria, the Orkar Coup in Perspective. It's about power, and it's about the law of motion. Let's look at the second law of motion. It states that the rate of change of momentum of a body is directly proportional to the applied force and takes place in the direction in which the force acts. That means the speed at which a ball will move is also dependent on the force that you use to kick the ball. And that ball will now move in the direction of the force. The direction, if Ronaldo wants to score a good goal from outside the 18-yard box, he is facing the goal post. The speed of that ball is dependent on the force that will come from the foot of Ronaldo. If you kick it lightly, it won't go too fast. If you hit it hard, it flies. And it will now must that will come from the foot of Ronaldo. If you kick it hard of the force, you are facing the goalpost. That is the direction of the force, and you hit it. The rate of change of momentum of a body is directly proportional to the applied force and takes place in the direction in which the force acts. That is the second law of motion. So it simply means that force is proportional to change in momentum. And change in momentum can only be calculated on the basis of time. That means let's say the time to move from Splash FM to Felele Junction, that movement must take time. If you are moving from Splash FM, let's call that Splash FM M1. Then Felele, where you are going to, it is M2. So for you to calculate change in momentum, it will be M2 minus M1 over time, the time you spent in making that movement. That is what it means. So M2 minus M1 over T is proportional to force. In that case, if you have done acceleration and velocity in physics, you will notice something. Now, let's say velocity is represented by V. That is final velocity. The final velocity is the velocity at which you now get to Felele. Then there's what you call U in physics. U is always initial velocity, the velocity at which you started your journey from Splash FM. So now we have moved, we can now say M1 is equals to MV. M2 is equals to MV. That is the final velocity. While M1 is equal to MU, your initial velocity. So for you to calculate the momentum, the change in momentum, it becomes MV minus MU over time. Let me not bore you with so much calculation, but you need to understand it for us to interpret it politically. In that case, you have MV minus MU. In mathematics, you now take out the common factor, and that is MV, MU. So you take it out and then put V and U, V minus U in bracket, while the M is outside. It becomes M bracket V minus U. And you know that V minus U over T in physics is equals to acceleration. Don't bother about yourself. We are not going for jam exam, but you just need to break this down. So at the end of the day, you will discover that force is equals to MA. That is mass times acceleration. Acceleration is equal to V minus U over T. So let's bring it, let's explain. At the end of the day, you will discover that force is equals to MA. That is mass. The second law of motion. So simply stated, the force acting on an object is equal to its mass multiplied by its acceleration. That is how you calculate force. Force is equals to MA. M is mass, A is acceleration. Acceleration is equals to V minus U over T. That is how acceleration is calculated in physics. So in politics, F is equals to political power. Are you calculating? F is equals to political power. And political power can be votes, protest, military coups. We are discussing the Orkar Coup. So in this case, F is equals to political power. And political power can be gotten through votes, protest, or military coups in our own case. In this case, mass is equals to the size and unit of coup. So in this case, F is equals to political. More people, stronger force. Are you there? More people, stronger force. If more people come to push a car, one person will struggle with the car. But you bring additional man, the third man, the fourth man, you see they will not be pushing the car with ease. Bring the fifth man, it becomes easier. The sixth person, because more forces are being applied. And that is how change occurs. When the masses add their forces together. So now we have been able to establish what that F means in politics and what mass means in politics. Then we have acceleration. The speed of change. You know, when you are not pushing the car, yeah, you might be 10. But if you guys are doing it in a soft way, the car will be moving slowly. But if you apply more force and everybody, you see the car will start rolling faster. Faster. So if you want change, what do? You push more. You get more masses. And you begin to push for change. Are you in this class? Do you get it? Newton's law of motion. Have I been able to break down the second law of motion? So for example, a small protest with less number of people may not create change unless it grows into a massive movement. In that case, everybody is now moving from Bodija to Benin City. It is now mass. The government becomes scared. Then you have what you call military coup. Military coup is like a sudden acceleration. You know, they come with bullets. That bullet is energy. So the pace of the bullet, as more bullets is sounding, there is commotion. So that's what you call sudden acceleration. And that sudden acceleration can overthrow a government quickly, depending on the firepower on both sides. At some point, the Nigerian military was able to resist the Orkar guys. They mashed them with firepower. And those ones ran out of bullets. You see? So in that case, they didn't come with enough force. Because they ran out of bullets. They were now overpowered. The Babangida boys were now mobilizing from different barracks, taking charge. So that is the second law of motion explained. Reflect. Take a cup of water. Why I take a cup of water? Look at your notes again. If you have any questions, I'll open the phone line. You ask me. In this case, I am not your teacher. I am a learner. So let's go, as Bosun enjoys his time.
State Affairs with Edmond Below is live. Splash FM 105.5. Juliet.
Romeo, you don't come again with this your sweet mouth.
Make I spoil you today now. I go recharge that your Airtel line. Come double R, sharp. Stick on add sub on top. I go come give you kiss.
Shouldn't you want to do all this one? I've been
In the book, you called some African leaders, like John Bendel Bokassa, buffoons.
Yeah, the buffoon. They are not all right. No, see the Uganda man.
Idi Amin.
Look at, they are not all right. In civilized places, they could not be local government head or chairman. So we put the wrong people in the apex position, and the thing is so confused. They sideline the accurately intelligent people. You see, we enthrone mediocres. As it's because of our system. We generally ascribe status, Africans, blacks, we attach importance to it. If you are a child of a natural ruler, a king or something, they assume that you are okay. But the white man and the Mongolian race, the Asians, what they do is to make sure that you achieve status. The more remarkable ones among them will be able to lead the Chairman Mao of this world, the Churchill of this world, and so many others.
Do we still have that problem in Nigeria?
We have.
Do we still enthrone mediocres in Nigeria?
If you can use a word that is worse than mediocres, you have no clue. What type of country is that? Mediocres, we are there. There is something, and what is worse is that the people too are unconcerned. Let me give you an example. People in Nigeria are unconcerned. It's the attitude of the black man. In the House of Representatives, somebody quoted figures how the House was padding money illegally, and you cannot find a country if it's not a black country. And the House, instead of explaining what happened, instead of the government probing it, the House voted is docility. We are docile. We are not gifted. The most intelligent people is docility. We are docile. We are not gifted. The most intelligent people are sidelined.
How come the most intelligent people continue to allow themselves to be sidelined?
Yes, because there's one point about that. This is a country, the black people, they are people generally who attach importance to ascribe status, not achieve status. The people who knew they were inadequate were at the helms of affair in many African countries. They do everything desperately through coercion, through free use of public money to entrench themselves.
If you talked about intelligent ones being relegated to the background,
Does that make them intelligent? Can't they use their intelligence to upstage the so-called mediocres and take over the affairs of the state?
Yes, that is why those of them, they dehumanize many people. Those who are professionals, those who retire in the public service, they could hardly feed themselves. They take away their pension, they don't pay them in time, and at their old age, they suffer.
But the link
who retire in the public service, they could hardly feed themselves. They take away their pension, they don't pay them in time, and at their old age.
That you have mentioned,
yes,
as were leaders who their intelligence to run in the state. How come in the case of Africa, we always find excuses for the so-called intelligentsias?
Now, I think the situation will change. Why it will change is this. Those clever people, those intelligent people, those with vision, they've been driven to the wall.
We will round off this interview by looking at a comment from one of your friends, Totai Solari, what we of the tremendous contributions of the Black African to the world culture and civilization. Interestingly, the book is still widely debated 42 years after it was published in 1976. What a feat. Huh?
Well, I used to tell people that it is the divine grace of God. It's the Holy Spirit that gave the idea to me in 1962 as an undergraduate of the then University College Ibadan. And so many people, my lecturer, Professor Esiewide, when I went to Obudu Katuran to write the first 3 chapters, he asked me what I was doing. And I told him the synopsis of the book. Then he called his wife. What have we been debating and talking about for the past 10 years? He said it's the plight of the black man in the world. I just thank God that he gave me the idea. But why the relevance of the book now is that Nigeria, I continue to say it, the most thickly populated black country on earth and one of the richest country on Mother Earth, has no clue on anything. We have the largest percentage of illiterate children, 70% in abject poverty, basic needs of life, electricity, water, drinkable water, good roads, essential, basic thing in hospitals. Nigerians lack it, which means something is wrong with the black race. How can the biggest, the most thickly populated black country on earth be as useless, as terrible as we are? In all areas of life, we are down in the pit.
Wow.
Yeah, the buffoon, they are not all right. No, see the Uganda man.
Idi Amin.
Look at, they are not all right. In civilized places, they could not be local government head or chairman. So we put the wrong people in the apex position. And the thing is so confused. They sideline the accurately intelligent people. You see, we enthrone mediocres. As it's because of our system, we generally ascribe status, Africans, blacks, we attach importance to it. If you are a child of a natural ruler, a king or something, they assume that you are okay. But the white man and the Mongolian race, the Asians, what they do is to make sure that you achieve status, the more remarkable ones among them will be able to lead the Chairman Mao of this world, the Churchill of this world, and so many others.
Do we still have that problem in Nigeria?
We have.
Do we still enthrone mediocres in Nigeria?
If you can use a word that is worse than mediocre, you have no clue. What type of country is that? Mediocres, we are there. There is something, and what is worse is that the people too are unconcerned. Let me give you an example. People in Nigeria are unconcerned. It's the attitude of the black man. In the House of Representatives, somebody quoted figures how the House was padding money illegally, and you cannot find a country if it's not a black country. And the House, instead of explaining what happened, instead of the government probing it, the House voted and said the person is suspended for 1 year.
Is that part of the black man's dilemma you wrote about?
It's our dilemma. And then, it's not possible in many places. In Europe, they will rise like one man and then say, no, it's impossible. But we are here. Even the intelligent ones have been cowed down.
So is docility part of the black man's dilemma?
Yes, it's docility. We are docile. We are not gifted. The most intelligent people are sidelined.
How come the most intelligent people continue to allow themselves to be sidelined?
Yes, because there's one point about that.
It is Splash 105.5 FM, the Integrity Station. I am Edmondo Pilo. So, you can call the radio station 070 694 930 00 or 070 144 757 70. So the lines are there. Call the radio station. Hello, good morning. 070 694 93000. Good morning.
Morning, it's morning, beautiful.
Hello.
Good morning. Hello?
I can hear you.
No.
Okay, this line is not clear. Thank you. It's not clear. You know, we want to have that clear voice. So sorry about that. I know you're trying. Hello, good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Rejuma.
Yes, good morning.
The highly weather in that particular place for strong enlightenment you are giving us. You see, that line is breaking, but it seems my voice is a little bit clear. What are we saying this morning? You see, F3S, where we are coming from, where we are and where we are going to. You see, F3S. What are we saying this morning? I mean, that's what Ali said. Those who behind militants in another, in this particular place.
No, that line is not clear. Sorry about it. It's not clear. I'm struggling to understand what he's saying. Please try again. Okay? Bosun, let's pick that call. Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning, Mr. Edmond.
Yes, good morning.
First time caller.
Yeah, good to have you here.
I do know very well. This is Mr. Ben calling from Nigerian.
Oh, sorry. Let's try another call. Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Yes, good morning.
My name is Joseph.
All right, Mr. Joseph.
I want to talk about this laws of motion that you mentioned. Now, a body continues in a state of rest except another force is exerted upon it to move. You mentioned something like Ronaldo eating the ball and the force that he uses to hit the ball will determine the speed and the direction of the ball. Now, also inside, there is what we call entropy. That is, will be a degree of disorderliness before orderliness can occur. A ball that is in a state of rest, definitely everything is cool about it. But when a force is exerted upon it, the hair in the ball, the body of the ball, everything, there will be a commotion within it before it can now begin to move. Nigeria, God will help us, but there is going to be a need for an entropy to occur, for stability to occur in Nigeria. Thank you. That's my submission.
Thank you. It just reminded me of entropy. You know, in recent time, I decided to go buy all the textbooks I read in secondary schools, the ones I could find. Greek textbooks, biology. I couldn't find Ababio, my chemistry textbook, Ababio. We read a lot of Ababio. We also read Houderness and Lambert. And I still have the old books. I still have them in Benin City. And reading them refreshes my mind. When I'll be reading them, I'll be excited. Recently, I also bought back my electrical and electronics engineering textbook, Teranja. That is the textbook of electrical technology. You know, that's my best book when I was studying a book of electrical technology. You know, that's my best book when I was studying engineering. I still have the old one, but I saw new ones recently in my travels, and I bought 2 big copies. You know, 2 big books, one in my office, one at home. When I see them, it reminds me of where I'm coming from. Hey, this guy, you studied electrical technology and electronics. And when I read them, I now see the power of science. It gives me new understanding. How did Babangida survive the coup? Richard Akinola, the author of Fellow Countrymen, A Story of Coup d'etat in Nigeria, explains.
They almost got Babangida.
As a matter of fact, what's the name of this guy who was in charge of the Doran barracks? I forgot his name. It's one Igbo chap who was among them. And my friend Azuka, who is based in US, is a journalist, interviewed him in Punch some few years ago. That that he saw Babangida and he could have blasted the whole place. Say, but he didn't want to. Say, he wanted to capture him alive.
Because Babangida narrated his ordeal.
Yes.
You know, they almost got him.
Yeah.
They almost got him. And he appreciated his ADC for a job well done.
Interestingly, you know, I was reading Colonel what's the name on this colonel that was arrested during the so-called Obasanjo's coup. I mean, so he was saying that UK Bello, that's Edis to Babangida, saw Unyam, and they were culprits. I said, why are you doing this to me? UK Bello, that's Edis to Babangida, saw Unyam.
7. And chapter 8 is Babangida's palace coup.
State Affairs with Edmond Lupilo is live.
Okay, let's read Babangida's book. You know, Babangida wrote his autobiography that was released to the public recently. The book is entitled A Journey in Service, an Autobiography by Ibrahim Babangida, Nigeria's head of state from 1985 to 1993. I'll try and read everything he wrote. He entitles this page, that's page 211. There's a subtitle here, The Gideon Orkar Coup. So Babangida said on the 22nd of April 1990, yet another military coup took place in the history of our administration. I must confess that what became known as the Orkar Coup hit me as a rude surprise. As was my usual daily routine, I saw off the last set of visitors to my Dodan Barrack residence after 1 a.m. Ahead of retiring to bed, I flipped through the various channels on the television to catch up on late news. I retired to bed without finding anything to arrest and keep my interest. The family was innocently asleep. My wife, who had gone to use the bathroom, rushed back to me to report that she had noticed some unusual movement on the premises outside. The troop movement and formations she had noticed were unusual in the security protocol of the residential part of the Dodan barracks. I stood up to have a look. I noticed, as she had done, that troops that may not be part of the guard details of the residence were taking up strategic positions. I alerted my guards, who had already seen what was going on. Very shortly afterwards, small arms firing commenced. It targeted the residence and office quarters as window panes began to shatter. This was followed by heavy artillery bombardment of the residential quarters. Babangida continues in his book. He says, from that point, my ADC, Lieutenant Colonel UK Bello, took charge. He had not been taken by surprise. Soon afterwards, the coup plotters were all over the place. They tried to invade the residence, but were delayed and repelled by the guards' formation of soldiers and state security officers. I had some of the best. My guards did what they were trained to do best, to protect me, the family, as their primary subject. They recognized that my safety and those of my immediate family were of topmost priority. Even against my stubborn insistence that I was not leaving my residence for any reason, the boys succeeded in extracting me and the family in separate units to safe houses far from our residence, which had now been reduced to virtual rubble. Babangida continues. Lieutenant Colonel UK Bello and the boys moved to engage the disloyal soldiers. In the process of moving to deploy the military tank located near the residence, UK Bello discovered that the rebel soldiers had earlier sabotaged the vehicle and it could not be used to return the fire of the coup plotters. Loyal troops nonetheless engaged the coup makers, while military communication and signals rallied loyal forces. The critical command was put on alert. General Sani Abacha took control of the loyal forces as necessary and constantly communicated progress in the operation to foil the coup to me in my safe location. We had failed the coup and were in the process of neutralizing the disloyal troops and their allies. Babangida says, while the treasonable broadcast of the coup plotters was running on FRCN, the military operation to counter the coup and neutralize the plot was in full force. He says by the late morning on 22nd of April, the coup had been successfully feared. The treasonous broadcast on the radio was replaced by sustained martial music. The disloyal troops were on the run in different locations, first around Lagos and later in other adjoining locations, mostly in and around Lagos. Different military formations around the country pledged their continuing loyalty and allegiance to the federal military government under my leadership. Arrests were being made as instant investigations were taking place, and the rebels were being rounded up and arrested. Babangida in his book says that by the late afternoon, we addressed the nation, reassuring all of the president's safety and the liquidation of the coup attempt. I was saddened by the revelation of some of the coup rig leaders. I had known many of them personally and helped them in their careers and personal affairs. He says, Orkar had frequently visited from his base at Shaki in Oyo State. I had on occasion instructed General Maman Kontagora, the then Minister of Works, to help Gideon Orkar fix a precarious bridge near his base and repair the road leading there. Colonel Inyam was a regular communicator with Dodan Barracks, and he used to write in with his suggestions on national issues, which were duly appreciated. Babangida continues, as the investigation proceeded, I could not help but reflect on the content of the coup plotters' broadcast, the laughable idea of sacking 5 states of the Federation, the attempt to meddle in the Sokoto Sultanate, and the ridiculous accusations against the Armed Forces Ruling Council and myself. Happily, the informed populace condemned these laughable and adolescent accusations and proposals. You want to read more of Babangida's narrative of what happened that night? You can pick up his book, A Journey in Service, an autobiography. You'll find this book on udarabooks.com. On udarabooks.com. You can make inquiries through my WhatsApp number. That is 080 999 18449. For those who find it very hard to navigate through websites, yes, you can make inquiries through my WhatsApp number. Yes, you can also order the books that have been mentioned through my WhatsApp number. And that is 080 999 18449. As we round off the show, let's listen to Babafemi Ojudu, the author of the book Adventures of a Guerrilla Journalist. Did you like that coup?
I think it was stupid to want to excise any part of Nigeria. At that time, we were all calling for change. All the radicals in Nigeria were calling for one change or the other. We were very unhappy with Babangida's regime. But for some people to come and then, interestingly, after the coup, I traveled to all the state excise to go and talk to their leaders. They were so annoyed. They didn't know anybody could even have that kind of idea. And I think that idea itself led to the failure
of the coup.
Because people now rallied to save Nigeria rather than to save. It was not to save Babangida and his government, but to save Nigeria. That was how they rallied.
But Babangida was rattled.
He was terribly rattled. And he said so when I met him later, that the 2 things that gave him sleepless nights was the Orkar Coup and the phenomenon of your journalism. So, but again later, I traveled to America. Many of the coup plotters, particularly to save Nigeria, selling fish at that time. I interviewed, there is who later became a professor in the University of Mississippi. I traveled.
So if you check Babafemi Ojudu's book, you'll find this chapter entitled A Curious Invitation to Mina Hilltop when Babangida invited him. Interesting story. Pick up the book adventures of a guerrilla journalist, and you would enjoy it. The third law of motion. The third law of motion states, to every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. The third law of motion, Newton's third law of motion, states, to every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. So what does that mean in politics? It means, one, every political decision creates resistance. Two, oppression leads to rebellion. When you oppress a people, that oppression is called action. And the law states oppression is action. Rebellion is the reaction. In Nigeria, there's rebellion everywhere. It might not be on the street, but there's what you call gun rebellion is taking place in Nigeria. They are shooting in the middle belt. They are shooting in the southeast. They are shooting in the northwest. It is gone. There's Boko Haram in Borno. That is rebellion. And when you have rebellion like that, it simply means that the government is oppressive. So to every action, to every oppression, there is an equal and opposite reaction. That reaction is rebellion. So where you see rebellion, it simply means the government is corrupt, unproductive, and that is why you find rebellion. That reaction is rebellion. So where you see rebellion, it simply means the government is corrupt, unproductive, and that is why you find rebellion. So to every, there is an equal and opposite reaction. We have come to the end of the class. Next week is another time. It is Splash 105.5 FM, the Integrity Station. Edmondo Bello on State Affairs. The next program is Ijoba Tiwa with Sheun Special. Stay tuned, stay cool. I'll be back next week.